Roger Amm. I taught at Ottawa Township High School. I was the choir director there for 32 years, from 1981-82 to the spring of 2013 when I retired. I was born and raised in Pontiac, Illinois on a farm, and was educated there and moved on to Illinois State University where I got my undergrad and I got my master's at Northern Illinois University. I think when I was in elementary school, I had a music teacher at Owego Township Elementary. Her name was Mrs. Bachman, and I was a pretty shy kid, but in music class, she was always pretty encouraging to me. And also, I was involved in the youth choir at the Presbyterian Church in Pontiac, Illinois. And I just have good memories of being involved in the choir there at the church. I think those are my earliest memories of being involved in music and knowing that I had some ability. Well, I went to a two-room schoolhouse in Ottawa, not Ottawa, but Owego Elementary. It was a small country school, 2 rooms. We had first, second, third grade in one room, and fourth, fifth, and sixth grade in another room. However, even though it was a small school, I had like 8 in my class, and we were the largest class of all the classes there. Even though it was a small school, we were still able to have art and music, and that's where I developed my interest in music initially. Then I went to Central Junior High School. It was an older school in Pontiac. I had 7th grade there. I was involved in the choir. And during that time, the high school choir director came and asked for some strong singers to be a part of their musical flower drum song. And my choir director at the time encouraged me to be a part of that, and that was my first experience in musical theater. My 8th grade year was spent in the brand new junior high school. We were the first class to graduate from there, and I was still involved in the junior high choir there. And then we graduated to Pontiac Township High School. I went to 4 years there. Very involved in the choral program, music theory class. We had musicals. I was involved in the Madrigal Singers there. Some just really great memories. And the biggest thing is I had some great instructors. Frank Dilla was the choir director, and Richard Alderman was the band director there, and they had great influence on me. They helped me, they showed me, I guess is what I want to say, what a strong music program is meant to be, and how they worked so well together. And then when I graduated from Pontiac Township High School, I went to Illinois State University to get a degree. Initially, I was going to become an optometrist, and after a year of organic chem and other classes that I did okay in, but I just realized that was not my calling, and I missed music a lot. So I went back to music and got a degree in music education. While there, I was involved in the concert choir and the men's glee club, and I was also a part of an octet. We performed frequently throughout the university, and some just good memories. After I got started teaching then, I went ahead and got my master's. My undergrad was in 1980, and then when I got my master's in 1990 from Northern Illinois University, I went there during 4 summers and probably a fall to be able to get my master's in music. Well, as soon as I got out of ISU with my undergrad, I got a position at Wheaton North High School in the western suburbs, and I spent a year there. They were going through some really difficult financial times. The first 3 days of the school year, we were on strike. I wasn't even in the classroom yet when we had gone on strike for 3 days. I taught choir, and I had an extracurricular show choir that was competitive at the time. It was the first time I'd been involved in a show choir. So that was quite an experience for me my first year. At the end of the year, there were a lot of teachers that were given a pink slip. Over 200 teachers lost their job at the end of that year. And so I went back to Pontiac with my wife, and we spent the summer there while I worked with the telephone company, and was interviewing for other positions. And so I spent a year at Wheaton North High School, and then it wasn't until 2 weeks before the school year began, I had at that point decided I probably was going to end up working for General Telephone. But 2 weeks before school started here in Ottawa, I got a call from Ed Johnston, and he wanted me to come and interview for a choir position that just opened up. Art Foley had just left, I think, to go to Batavia to teach orchestra, and there was a choral position open up late in the summer. So came up and interviewed with him, and Dr. Gehring, Larry Gehring, was the superintendent at the time, and Ray McKeever was the band director. And after a few days, I got a call saying that they wanted me to take the position, and we had about a week and a half to move up and get ready for the school year. And that was in 1981, the fall of 1981. And I stayed in Ottawa the rest of my teaching career for 32 years. My first impression of Ottawa was pretty negative. My wife and I came in for an interview, and we came in from the south. It was a dreary, rainy day. The new bridge on the south side hadn't been built yet. We came across this old metal bridge and looking down over a town that looked really dreary. And the interviews went well, and I enjoyed that, but I just wasn't sure that this was the place for us. But because it was so late in the summer and I was looking for a high school teaching position, this was the perfect, position for me at the time. I decided to take the job, and I'm really, really glad I did, because it's been a great place for me as an educator. The community has been exceptional to my family and to me. I've loved getting to know the students here and working with them. Like I say, not only the community, but our administration, our faculty, has been very supportive of us, through the years that I was here. When I first started at Ottawa High School in the fall of 1981, I had two choirs, the concert choir and treble choir. And I also taught a music theory class and a music history class. The history class at the time was a class where a lot of fifth year seniors were involved, and it was not really a lot of students that were really interested in music. And the music theory class, was very small at the time. I also had an extracurricular group called the Renditions. It was a show choir that was started by John Upstrom several years prior to my getting to Ottawa High School. And I had an experience at Wheaton North for a year with a show choir, but show choirs were new for me, and really kind of new for the area. It was late 60s when Bob Hills at Western Illinois University really kind of got the show choir thing going here in the Midwest. And so it was still kind of a new thing for me. But that was the thing when I first came here. I think I had 68 students total in the program, and really the show choir was the main emphasis of what was going on here. And I wanted to try to change that culture to where, I wanted the show choir to be, a strong extracurricular group, because they went out to the community and performed a lot. But I wanted the choirs to be stronger and larger, and try to incorporate more students and to be able to do more things with them. And so over the first few years, and I did away with the music appreciation course after I think 2 years, and I continued with the music theory class, and it would fluctuate in numbers. But my choirs, the concert choir and treble choir, just gradually increased in numbers. I had some great mentors, Ray McKeever to begin with, who was a legend in the band field. He had been teaching in Ottawa for over 30 years, and for the last 3 years of his tenure there, he was the band director while I did choir, and we worked really well together. He was a great person, he was a great resource, and he helped me tremendously. I respected the man, and he was just great to me and to my family, and taught me a lot. the first few years that I was here. One of the things that I brought to Ottawa initially is the first time it was done. I had an experience at ISU where I sang the national anthem at one of the home basketball games with the pep band there, and it was really a neat experience for me. And I remember that when I went to Wheaton North High School, I ended up introducing the national anthem being sung. It was always being played by the bands, either at the marching or at the football games or the basketball games. But when I went to Wheaton North High School, we started the tradition of having a soloist or the choir sing the national anthem along with the band. And so I continued that when I came to Ottawa High School. And I'll never forget the first pep rally that I experienced when I got to Ottawa. We had our ROTC program here. The band was huge and just unbelievable. The student body was, had a tremendous amount of pep and energy. And when you walked into Kingman Gym, it was just unbelievable. I'll never forget that experience. I was just in awe of what I saw and what I heard. And I just wanted to be a part of that. And so one of the ways was to get the national anthem going. And so we sang the national anthem for every home football game and every home basketball game with the boys. And then later, I can't remember how many years it was, eventually when girls' sports were picking up, girls' basketball games we also would sing at. And there were occasions when we would sing the banner at a wrestling meet or a volleyball game, and we would supply the national anthem for those too. Over time, the show choir was really a great thing, and Patty Gray was our choreographer. And it was wonderful working with Patty. She runs one of the dance studios in Ottawa. And she was a choreographer with Art Foley before I got there, Art and Karen Foley, before I got there. And Patty continued to do the choreography for me while we still had renditions. And she was just a great gal to work with. And she understood that the movement aspect of it could enhance or take away from the vocal end of it. And she was always very careful about making sure that the choreography didn't take away from the vocal end, and I always appreciated that about her, and she was just great to work with. But over the years, the Illinois Music Educators Association involved jazz choirs, and so I just felt like that was the way to transition, and so we went from the renditions into a jazz choir. And that was probably in the mid-90s, I think, when we did that. I don't remember the exact year. But after that point, then we did the Opus Jazz Choir. We went from as few as 14 members to as many as 32 in that group. But they continued to perform throughout the community, kind of as an extracurricular group. They met on initially, the show choir met on Mondays and Thursday nights for 3 hours a night. Then we eventually cut that down to one rehearsal on Monday evenings, and then that's what the jazz choir did when they came into existence. So. Another thing that we brought to Ottawa High School, and actually for the whole music program from elementary on up, we started the OEHS Music Festival, the Ottawa Elementary and High School Music Festival, back in, I believe it was 1989. And that was, the reason for that was to bring together all the performing choirs and bands in the elementary, junior high, and high school together. And we would present a concert on a Sunday in early February. And it gave the community an opportunity to see the full gamut from Friendly City Sound and the varsity band through the high school symphonic band and wind ensemble and the three choirs at the high school level. And it became, initially when we began it, we thought it would probably run about 10 years, and it's still going, and I think it's in the 28th year. It's been a great showcase for our programs, but also it's been great for the community to be able to come in and see from the early stages to how the kids progress until they graduate from the high school. It's good for the older kids to see where they came from, and good for the younger kids to see where they're capable of going with their music. So that was one of the things that was really kind of special that was developed that ended up being a lot more important than what we anticipated it to be. Trying to think other things that we did. Some special people that we had along the way that ended up helping out with the music program. I worked with, like I mentioned before, Ray McKeever. I worked with him for 3 years. He was the band director there. Then after him, Michael Peterson was there for 3 years with the band. Then Ken Cox, what happened, the band program became a halftime position, and he came in and took halftime there and halftime at Grand Ridge for 2 years. But at that time, the band program's numbers went dramatically lower. It went down to as few as 48 by the time Mr. Cox left. And after he left, Sarah Reckmeyer came in, and she was there for 24 years with me, and then 3 years beyond the time that I retired. So I had great band directors to work with, and then around 1995, 96, I think was the first year, we were able to get a full-time accompanist in, and Gail Cross was a piano teacher in town, and she was involved in church music. And she ended up becoming the accompanist for Ottawa high school choirs. She was there for concert choir and treble choir every day and would occasionally come in to help 7th hour freshman choir. And we ended up leaving at the same time in 2013. And unfortunately, we lost her that very next, a year after that, in December 2014, she passed away from cancer. But was such a great gal to work with. Prior to Mrs. Cross, we had my piano skills are pretty minimal, and so I was able to get through rehearsals and things like that. But we would bring accompanists in the last week or so to work with us so that we'd be prepared for a concert. My wife Carol did a lot of that, and there were several other people who also helped us out from time to time. And occasionally a student accompanist would help us too. But Gail was probably our biggest support in that area for the longest number of years. And then another person who was just instrumental to our programs, both band and choir, is Barb Kinzer. We were able to convince the administration to bring in an assistant. Of course, we could not afford another part-time or full-time choir or band director. So they did allow us to bring in a part-time assistant to help both the band and the choir programs. Barb Kinzer, I think it was the fall of 2000, she came in and on a part-time basis. And over time, it became a full-time position. And she was just wonderful in helping both Miss Reckmeyer and I with just all the things that we had to do to prepare the kids for the performances and for contests and things of that nature. So some really great people that we've had that have helped the program tremendously. Well, the biggest things when I first began, I just wanted to build a program. I wanted more kids involved in the program, and I wanted them to pursue excellence, and I wanted to make sure that we were a department and not just separate entities like band here and choir here and orchestra. We did have an orchestra program when I first started at Ottawa. Been through the years from the bottom up, we started to lose the program. And I think Lisa Amadei was the very last string person that we had that graduated from Ottawa High School. It was a sad thing that we lost the string program. But during that time, it was just so difficult to be able to try to keep funding another part of the department. But I strove, I think like all of us did, to make it a department that the community and other schools could be proud of and look up to. And we were very involved in the Illinois High School Association, solo and ensemble and organizational contests. And out of the 32 years that I was there, um, the students, would perform in both the solo and ensemble competition and the organizational contest. And point totals, they ended up being in the top three in state 29 out of the 32 years that I was there. And we had 18 state titles during that time. They are still continuing to win state titles. I think they're to 21 now. But during my tenure, our first state championship was in 1983. Ray McKeever and I were teaching at that time. It was my second year at Ottawa High School that we won a state championship. And then starting in 1997, until the present day, we've received the state championship every year. The things that I'm proud of about that is the consistency of quality in the program, the hard work of the students, and we've broken state records with the most number of points several times, and they still are the record holders of the most number of points in the state HSA solo and ensemble and sweepstakes history. We, as far as organizational contests where we took our groups, I'm proud of our students because during the time, bands did great, obviously, but as far as the choirs were concerned, we had an average of 4 Division I's choirs every year for the 32 years that I was there. While I was there, the students received 128 Division I plaques for their work in large groups. And then we also participated in the Illinois Music Educators Association, the district and all state festivals, and we were always very blessed to have a lot of students involved, and there were, I think, an average of 5 all-state choir students every year during the time that I was there, and that's another thing that I'm very proud of our students for. We had a huge representation at the division or at the district level and also at the state level, and so those were some really great experiences going down to Peoria, Springfield when we had it in Springfield, and Chicago when we had it in Chicago. Really great experiences for our kids, and it was just a part of what we did every year. Well, obviously fondest memories are the students and interactions with people along the way, the support of the community, but especially just working with the kids. It's what brought me a tremendous amount of joy and satisfaction, and I can't say thank you enough to my students for the memories that they provided for me and for our school and for our community. Their success with IHSA competition is really what kind of brought them to the forefront of the community, and it's become something that the community has really been excited about, and they feel a lot of pride about our music program. They always have. We have a rich history of music at Ottawa High School. It's just wonderful to be a part of that rich tradition. And there's so many, as far as musical things. There are so many things that took place that were just wonderful memories for me. I hate to pick out any in particular. One of the things that we enjoyed doing every year, and it just kind of started as a fluke. They always had kind of like a pop concert at the end of the school year, or a concert where lighter music was performed. And when I started, we did the same thing, and we were still on risers, and we did a little bit more contemporary music. But after about 4 or 5 years, I decided to, add costuming and a theme to the program. And we would still stand on risers and maybe do a couple songs with, a little choreography here and there, and just have some jokes and stuff. And it just seemed to be popular with the community. And it just kind of grew and grew from there to the point where, all 3 choirs were on the stage together. They're all in costume. They're all doing synchronized choreography. Solos and ensembles performing throughout. Lighting effects, gags that we pulled, a lot of dancing involved. And it just became to a point where the community just was very looking forward to it every year, and we had a standing room only crowd every year for the last I don't know how many years. It just kind of got out of control. Every year we were trying to come up with something that was bigger and better, and it was a highlight. I also enjoyed doing the musicals at the school with Mrs. Williamson. She was the drama director there, and we did a number of shows. We would do one every other year, and there were a number of shows that just stick out in my mind that were just great shows, and the kids just did a wonderful job. So some of them, like The Sound of Music, Fiddler on the Roof, things like that. Those were great experiences too. Time consuming, but fun. As far as disappointments, very few along the way. It wasn't often, but if I didn't reach a kid, and if didn't instill a love for the music and made them want to stick around for 4 years in the choir program, and I lost them early, it was always a disappointment that way, because I hated to lose anybody that had been a part of the program. Sometimes it was beyond their control because of scheduling conflicts or something like that, but I always hated it when we lost a student that had been in the program before they graduated. The only there were two disappointments, I think, along my career. One was after about 6 years after Mike Peterson, the band director, left. The new administration, we had a new superintendent came in that was basically there, and we were going through some difficult financial situations during that time, and the district was in difficulty financially, so they decided to cut the band program to half-time. And even though I had a big letter writing campaign by a lot of state officials and music teachers from all over the state, and a lot of community support. We had the marching band there, I think, to play pep while the board members came in. They still voted to make the band position to a halftime position. And for 2 years, it was halftime, and we lost a lot of band students during that time. And that was a real disappointment to me that our esteemed band program went down to about 48 students. When Miss Reckmeyer came into the picture, it went back to a full-time position, and the band gradually grew and grew until it was back to where it was before that. But it took a long, long time for her to be able to get it back consistently, and even though it was a disappointment, I realized it was one of those things, financially sometimes you have to make tough decisions, and it really was very difficult. The other thing that was extremely hard, and probably the biggest disappointment, was the fact that we went on strike back in 2009. And because of the strike, our students that year weren't able to audition for the Illinois Music Educators Association District and all state conferences. So those students didn't have that opportunity that year because they weren't able to audition during the strike. They never had the opportunity to be chosen for the district or all state, and that was a very, very difficult time. And we lost our superintendent during that time, and he died, and the strike went on a lot longer than what we anticipated it would, and it really divided our community. And that was probably the hardest thing that I experienced while I was at Ottawa High School. It's a great school. It's got a lot of great teachers, great administrators, and my kids went there. They had a good education. I'm hoping that my grandkids will go there because I believe in the school, and I think it's going to continue to be great. They were, like I said before, I've had over 3,000 students, and I had some great kids. just wonderful to be around. Some of them were wonderful musicians, wonderful vocalists, wonderful people. And to pull out individuals, I think, would be an injustice to a lot of the kids. You know, I loved working with those students, and a lot of them went on to either be a part of a music program in college or in their community. A lot of them went on to teach. Some of them in music education, I'm thankful that I'm still in contact with a lot of those kids who graduated and were a part of the program, and see their success. You know, we always gave out the Ariana Award every year to the outstanding senior vocalist and also an outstanding senior band member. We also would give out the Chopin Award, which went to an outstanding keyboardist. That wasn't a yearly award, but it was given out to a student who met the criteria for that award, and it was pretty stringent there for a while, and not many students received the Chopin Award. While I was there, we developed the Glenn Ryan Memorial Scholarship, which was $100 in memory of Glenn Ryan. Glenn was a gentleman who had grandchildren who went through my program, and also just was a great supporter of Ottawa High School. He was also a member of my church choir at the First Presbyterian Church when I was doing that, and he was up in the tenor section. He was just a great guy. I loved he and his wife Betty and their family. And when he passed away, the family decided to give a $100 scholarship every year in his memory. And so for, I don't know, I can't remember exactly how many years it was, but the last half of my career there, we gave out the Glenn Ryan Memorial Scholarship. The other scholarship that was developed was a $1,000 scholarship in memory of Mark Weavy. Mark was a student of mine with muscular dystrophy, who was confined to a wheelchair, but he did not let that get him down. He was always a positive influence. He as a matter of fact, he worked so hard at what he did musically. His sophomore year, he made the district IMEA festival, and we were so excited for him to be part of that. By the time he was a junior, at the end of his junior year, he was getting weaker. He lived a lot longer life than what they expected him to. He was just such a wonderful asset to our program that we hated to lose him. But he passed away, and the choir gave a $1,000 scholarship in his memory. And at the time when he passed away, we had a dedication. Several times throughout my career, we would commission a piece of music, and we commissioned Joseph Martin to score a piece specifically for Mark's memory. And we had a special place in one of our concerts the year after he passed away, where we performed that song and we started the scholarship off. And so it was those are the main awards that we give out annually. You know, during my time there, a lot of things. 32 years is a long time, and a lot of things changed. My second year there, we experienced a horrible flood that destroyed the cafeteria and damaged a lot of the school. For a while, we ate out of vending machines in the West Gym while they were trying to repair the damage to the cafeteria area. And so we had repairs that had to be done. We also had a time when the area between the main building and the Manual Arts building, it used to be a parking lot. It has since become a courtyard for the Ottawa Township High School Education Foundation, where they have sculptures and bricks that people can purchase to help the foundation. And it's just become, kind of a centerpiece for the school. Also, during the time that I was there, they built a new addition onto the Manual Arts wing. They converted the welding and woods rooms into the new cafeteria. Where the old cafeteria was, they put in new locker rooms. But the biggest addition was probably the new addition to the manual arts building, and another building across to the east of the school that houses the auto shop area and the ag program. And so we've had a lot of things that have been upgraded. Of course, security has become an issue, and so we have a lot of secure areas there. You have to check in. You have to make sure that you buzz in every time that you're visiting the school, and typical school security. We have a resource officer there now. Trying to think. Of course, we've gotten new tennis courts and a brand new track. It used to be an old cinder track, and now a nice football field and track area.
What about your facilities?
Our facilities were, our area stayed pretty much the same, other than one time. One time early in my career, they painted the room for me, the choir room, and then I had asked for some help with converting some of the practice rooms into storage, because we didn't have enough storage area. And so I got Kirk Hawthorne to help us kind of convert some of the old practice rooms into a storage area for us, which helped us out. And then a few years before my retirement, I painted the room along with a couple of the custodians one summer, just to freshen it up a little bit. But it wasn't until after I left that they just did a total renovation of the 800th floor where the music program is at, and it is upgraded and it looks great. It's really nice. Yeah. Other than that, a lot of individual little things that we could talk about, but those are the main things that have been taking place. I'll be honest, it took me a couple years before I felt comfortable with it. I really miss the interaction. I miss the kids. I loved teaching. I love the students, and I really missed it. But I tried to keep myself busy with different activities. I did things like, I do some singing occasionally, different benefits. I did a community theater show, do singing at funerals, some weddings. As a matter of fact, I've gotten a part-time job at a local funeral home, helping out there. A few hours here and there, and that kind of keeps me busy. I had some health issues during my teaching. I suffered a heart attack in 2005, and I had colon cancer in 2008, and ended up with 9 months of chemotherapy. So because of those experiences, once I retired, I kind of committed myself to trying to get myself healthy again and to stay healthy. And so, a lot of my spare time is spent walking. I go to the hospital for LifeFit to do some cardio or some weight training, that type of thing. We have 3 grandsons now, and so I spend time with them. We're living at, my wife and I Carol is still teaching. She teaches at Plano Elementary, or Emily G. Johns School, I should say, and she teaches music there. She doesn't retire for another year and a half, and so waiting for her to retire. Once she does, we'll probably do some traveling, but we're going to stay here in Ottawa. All our children live here and are working here, and we want to we plan on staying in Ottawa for the rest of our lives. Ottawa's a great community, and it's been a great place for our children to grow up and be educated, and I look forward to my grandchildren being educated here.